can see behind me there's a 55-gallon drum. This is poly pipe, otherwise known as sprinkler hose. I hope this isn't too much height, and it is watering the garden. Watching us struggle through this life we call homesteading. What's up everyone, Wild Schneider Outdoors, and welcome back to another gorgeous day on the homestead, and welcome to the next video in our off-grid homestead series. Now, today, it's not necessarily something new, but I'm fixing something old. If you remember back when I did the off-grid well, I'm new at this, and I'm gonna be learning along with you guys as well. So, let's get at it. That dried up, didn't work, so now I've got to find a new way to get water for our plants. And as of late, what we've been doing is we have been, I don't know if you can see behind me there's a 55-gallon drum. We have to hook our generator up to our well, which is where we get our water from, to pump into that 55-gallon drum, and then we have to put it in the truck, drive it down to the garden. Woo, sorry, I'm driving on the property, not on the roads. But then we have to take that drum, bring it down to the garden, and then water without pressure with just 55 gallons. And we got to go as fast as we can so that way we can get the garden watered before we run out of water. So today we are going to fix, or at least remedy, the water situation down here in the pasture, and we are going to do that by pumping right out of the river. So follow along with us and you can see exactly how we do it, so that way if this is a situation you're in, maybe you can do the same thing too. So let's go at it. All right, so in order to do what I want to do, we had to have a way to pump from, let's go over here and I'll show you, just right down here. We've got this creek, oh, some ducks. We've got this creek that runs right through our property, and it's plenty deep enough to pump out of. So we're gonna be taking from there and pumping it all the way over there to the garden. So in order to do that, you need a few things, right? This is poly pipe, otherwise known as sprinkler hose, right? And this is going to be how we draw water off the creek. And then on that, you got to have what's known as a foot valve. And this is just pretty much a screen. It's a one-way valve with a screen on it to let water in, but not lose your prime on the way back out. And it also keeps debris from going into your pump. And then you need your pump. Just a 12-volt pump, hooks up to a battery, up to 70 PSI, 5.5 gallons a minute. Should be plenty for all we need, plus all the attachments for that. You need a battery, all right? Can't have a 12-volt pump without having a 12-volt battery. So, got the 12-volt battery here, just cheap marine battery from, you know, the North 40 Outfitters, and a bucket. So this bucket is gonna go over the foot valve, and it'll have holes in it, and that'll just be an extra protection to keep any dust and debris out of the actual pump itself. And then of course, solar panel, right? Wouldn't be off-grid without solar panel, and this came from Costco. It is a all-in-one 100-watt solar panel. I didn't want to use the nice solar panels that we have up top just because those are for our house. So this is just a little cheap 100-watt panel. It's got a little PWM charge controller on it, and that will be how we top off this battery so it never runs out of juice. And then of course, hose. You got to have hose. All right, so what I've done is I've put some Teflon tape on the little attachment there that's going to go into the poly pipe, and then attach the foot valve to that attachment. I took the bucket, perfectly good bucket, put a bunch of holes in it, so that way the water could get into that bucket without, you know, letting in a bunch of big debris. So hopefully that'll help. And then I put a hole in the lid, which is going to have the poly pipe going through the lid into the bucket where the foot valve will sit. To be protected, and then I'm going to put a rock in here to help keep it down, so that way if the river does swell up or the creek does swell up, we won't lose everything and get it all swept downstream and lose all our hard work. All right, let's see if we can find the spot the wife took you down at, so that way I can go get the bucket and put it in the river, because I couldn't reach from up here and that sucks. All right, I guess technically welcome to public land. Don't know if you know this, but in our area in the inland northwest, you cannot own below the high water mark. So I may own the property that this creek runs through, but what I don't own is anything below that. So this whole thing is public property. Kind of neat. If you're a conservationist or enjoy the outdoors, it's always good to remember that, because some people think they own everything, and well, you don't. I'm not sure if you can see these little fish in here, but in our area, this used to be a very, very, very popular salmon stream and steelhead, and I guess what happened is they put in a bunch of dams and all the salmon and steelhead stopped running, but a bunch of people around here got together and they have restocked the creek itself with salmon smolt, and they actually just had a salmon return to this creek earlier this year for the first time in, gosh, forever. So kind of cool to see fish in there. Love to see that. All right, got the poly pipe here. Bucket is submerged. Line goes up. I hope this isn't too much height for that pump to not pump on. That would be a really, really, really bad day for all this effort to try and get water, but we'll see. We'll go hook it up, we'll test it, make sure that it works, and then we'll get the rest of it hooked up so that way we can get water to our garden. All this for food, right? The things we do. All right, I got the pump hooked up, I got the battery down here. Now it's time for a test run to see if this will even work. I don't want to actually hook everything up and go through this trouble without it not working. So we're gonna hook it up and see what happens. Make it quieter. Okay, the pump's on. Not a lot's happening. I fixed it. There was a leak on that end. Just seeing if I can draw up water from here. Now the line is not primed, so I got to be careful not to break this pump, but the bucket is down there. It is submerged. Just waiting on some water. Come on, water. Okay, I went down and primed the line because I had to, so here we go. Oh yeah. There you go, that's a lot of water. Pump's fairly quiet too. All right. Okay, everything is now set up. We've got the bucket down there with the filter and the foot valve on it, the inline hose coming to the pump, the battery, and I've got, oh goodness, 200 feet of hose run all the way over to the garden. So I'm gonna hook it back up. Hopefully it starts pumping again. She's pumping. Now I gotta wait for water. Hopefully something starts squirting out of the other end. All right, kind of hard to see. Let me see if I can sneak in here without getting too wet, but that is creek water. And it is watering the garden. That is so exciting. Back up here before I get too wet again. That coverage gets the whole garden. That's awesome. I don't have to worry about watering the garden now. Okay, well, while that waters, now I gotta hook up the solar panel. This is just a Coleman 100 watt, 12 volt solar panel, right? So little solar panel here. I already put on, they didn't have any MC4 connectors, so I attached some MC4 connectors there, and then to the inlines for the PWM, this little 8.5 amp max charge controller. I'm gonna connect these ringlets onto the battery itself, connect this up to the solar panel. I'll have the solar panel for now. It's just gonna rest on that barrel, so that way the battery can get topped off. We don't have to worry about, you know, draining the battery and ruining it. Even though it was cheap, still, it's not something I wanna ruin. So we'll hook that up and then continue to water the garden, and hopefully, fingers crossed, this will continue to work and we won't have to lug that barrel full of water from up there in my truck every single day to water the garden. All right, solar panel is hooked up. You can see down here, this little 8.5 amp. You can see the lights on here, it's charging. So that's good. We'll pull in as much power as we can off this 100 watt panel to keep this battery topped off while this battery runs that. So that way we can continue to water our garden. It is just another adventure on the homestead. All right, folks, that is gonna do it for today's video. If you've made it this far, thank you so much. I appreciate you hanging around and watching us struggle through this life we call homesteading. And you know, if you like what you're seeing, think about hitting that like button. You know, leave a comment down below so that way I can answer any questions you may have about, you know, this setup if you want to do one yourself. If you're not subscribed, consider hitting that subscribe button. You know, it means a lot to me to know that you guys are watching what we're putting out and appreciate what we're doing and are joining us along on this adventure we call life. So thanks again for hanging around, and as always, stay wild.